What's up, gamers? It's your boy Alex, and welcome to this Marvel Snap video. Today we're discussing the top 10 best decks in Marvel Snap to help you get to Infinite and beyond. If you'd like to support this content, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe while you're there too, just in case you haven't already. With that being said, we're doing things a little differently. I'm just joking. I just like saying that. We're doing things exactly as we have been for the last couple weeks, where the first two decks are going to be 30-day decks, which might be flying under the radar, but have been statistically very relevant over the last 30 days, according to Untapped. Infinite statistics only. And then the next 8 decks are going to be ranked according to their win rate, secondarily by their cube rate, and those are being considered over since the patch according to Untapped Infinite only based statistics. So a lot of decks to love here. Let's get started with Sarah Loki. Now Loki's been making a bit of a comeback lately, but this particular Sarah control based shell is actually phenomenal, and it's running a 60% win rate and a 0.61 cube rate, which is amongst the highest you're going to see. It has been a remarkably effective deck, considering that, especially going into something like Infinity Conquest, this deck can feel like it can do a little bit of everything, right? So you got the Copycat, you have the Red Guardian, you have so much tech. It's classic Sarah control, but you also have the Loki out, just in case you're interested in using their cards against them type thing. It's a very fascinating deck, and one that I've actually been playing this weekend and having a lot of fun with. So if you're interested in a very high impact deck that's been very, very well performing over the last 60 days, that sentence barely made sense, but we're going to go on anyways. This one is one you can definitely consider. And then we got another 30-day deck, which is a little more, I don't know, probably guessable, one that's been talked about in the past, but still not seeing the respect it deserves, and that's classic discard with Coccia in it. Running a 58% win rate at 0.39 cube rate, this deck's actually doing pretty good, and I know you're seeing a whole lot of the Bullseye Frigga combination, my bad, sorry guys, but this deck is actually performing pretty well, and it has a very straightforward play pattern. It's relatively inexpensive outside of course, Khonshu itself, but even if you don't have Khonshu, I mean Scorn I guess too, but if you don't have Khonshu or Scorn, there are free-to-play friendly variations of this deck, which will kind of get you almost the entire way there. This is essentially just dependable discard with Khonshu and Scorn in it, really, right? And it's performing well, and I don't think that people realize it's performing as well as it is, because the win rate and the cube rate are phenomenal. They're very, very strong. We're almost at a 0.40 cube rate, which is very, very high. So yeah, if you're interested in playing something that has been consistently high performing over the last 30 days and is not necessarily the most meta thing, then you can definitely consider this Khonshu discard shell. So anyways, those are the 30-day decks. Let's go into the statistical top 8 here. And we're going to be going with Spectrum to start us off at a 56% win rate and a 0.36 cube rate. Spectrum's doing really well. It has been for a while, ever since we had the Captain Carter introduced to the game, even as a 4-drop. Spectrum's been a kind of a go-to. Now that you have Captain Carter, Moonstone, and others doing what they're doing, you end up having Spectrum being able to reach far higher than they traditionally have. Given the weekend missions, we do see that Super Scroll does still get added to these decks. It wouldn't surprise me if Super Scroll gets cut from these decks in the coming weeks. Although I should say that the first week of most seasons does have the Gore Iron Man type shells, the negative decks kind of make a bit of a comeback, so Super Scroll might still be valuable there. But I expect a drop off of ongoing play once the season ends, because then the weekend missions, which has Captain Carter in it, will not be as prevalent, and people won't be, they won't exist, and so people won't be playing Captain Carter for the purposes of the weekend missions themselves. And I think that Super Scroll would probably see a reduction in play, although still he's been a pretty good catch-all in the given meta. So if you're interested in playing ongoing, 56% win rate, 0.36 cube rate, it's about as good as you get. And I mean, we got some other shells that are pretty fantastic in this video, so stay tuned. We got some higher win rate stuff coming, and it starts with Sauron. Sauron has been a revelation ever since it got changed to a 2 cost, which I literally called. I called the power, I called everything about this change. And it's remarkable because Starbrand came out and we were hoping Starbrand was going to be the injection of power that this archetype needed. And it actually hadn't been. It was helpful, but it was so awkward having Sauron and Starbrand at 3 cost, and the change to 2 completely changed everything. And this is a great example of even something like Hydration Stomper, right? It comes into the game and you're like, okay, it's going to make that Silky Smooth style deck playable, and then you wonder, okay, it is actually much better. It's on the top 10, but it's what else do you change? Is Hydra Stomper enough to elevate that archetype, or does like some of those key archetype components need to be changed? Does Silk need a buff? Does Craven need a buff? Not Craven, considering what Sam Wilson's been doing, but you know what I mean, right? Sometimes it's not just about the card you're introducing. It can be about changing that way that archetype plays. Like, for instance, the change to Taskmaster completely took Taskmaster out of these decks, and as a result, you don't see the Red Skull Shuri combinations like you used to in these Sauron-based decks, right? Because there's no point, because, well, I wouldn't say there's no point, but you used to be able to Shuri, Red Skull, and then Taskmaster and Ebony Maw, and you'd have a tremendous power level. And so, like, don't underestimate the periphery cards being changed, having a definite impact on some of these shells, the way they look, because this 57% win rate Sauron shell is in many parts because of the Sauron change. And we're talking about a significant change of win rate, like a massive delta, all because of the Sauron change. So it was significant. Don't rule it out. One of my favorite decks of the week is Captain Surfer, running a 57% win rate at 0.43 cube rate. And man, you got Gorgon here, which is great considering what the meta is. You're going to see the top shells of the week, which are obviously really Gorgon friendly, to be honest with you. US Agent in this list. But of course you have the new Captain Carter with Silver Surfer. That 3 cost is just absolutely beautiful. I'm showing off my new Negasonic Teenage Warhead Conquest variant. This variant was good enough. It's not as good as the Flaviano one, but I don't have the Flaviano one. So I was like, I guess I'm playing Conquest for this Negasonic variant. But yeah, this deck's been doing great. It's got the Red Guardian, which is a great catch-all tech card. Copycat is just so fun to play. Copycat is just incredibly fun. It makes the game experience more positive. In this particular version of Surfer is not running the Gwenpool, it's running just Galacta, which obviously works very well with Brood, but it's notable that you don't have Sebastian Shaw in this deck, which is kind of funny, but you do have the added tech of something like a Gorgon and a US Agent. It's notable here that you do have the Sam Wilson, who is played primarily, I don't want to say primarily for, but one of the benefits of it is that it works well with Captain Carter to fill the location behind, and then as you move the Sam Wilson shield there, it gets a massive buff from the Captain Carter, and suddenly is especially when you get Silver Surfered as well, not the shield, Captain Carter gets Silver Surfered and applies that power to the shield, like it's actually a notable increase of power, right? Although I still might like Sebastian Shaw in a deck like this. But overall, the amount of games I've won testing this deck with something like a Juggernaut on turn 6 is actually pretty phenomenal. But overall, yeah, Captain Surfer, it's legit, 57% win rate, 0.43 cube rate. If you want to play Surfer, you got to have the Gorgon, because the Gorgon's actually a huge part, and you're going to see why in a few minutes here. And our next deck is going to be Hydration Scream, and what can I say? Hydration Stomper has been a thirst quencher, as it's been honestly pretty good. Like, it's not bad at all, and it's been regularly getting to like over 10 power in my testing. Hydration Stomper does come out pretty solid, and it does help that Batrock is phenomenal. Like, Batrock is a very good, oh my gosh, I'm saying the name wrong again. Honestly, guys, I don't know. Batrock, I think people want me to say. It's Batrock, Alex. So Batrock has been very good for these archetypes as well, because not only does it just feed Hydra Stomper, but you're getting additional procs on Craven. You get like Batrock. Batrock himself gets up to like 6, 7, 8 power easily. And then you have the Kingpin Scream side. I like the deck a lot, and I almost wanted to do something like, could you figure out like a Diamondback shell with Kingpin, Red Guardian, and others? I didn't quite figure it out, because the deeper you fall into the tech, the further you fall away from the power generation of Silk and Hydra Stomper, Craven, and whatnot, right? So anyways, I like this deck a lot. They took out some of like the classics like Magneto, Arrow, and etc. in order to benefit the overall power increases of Hydra Stomper and, of course, Batrock. But anyways, yeah, so this is a good deck if you're looking to get the weekend mission done for Hydra Stomper. 59% win rate, 0.26 cube rate. A little lower on the cube rate side, but a very high win rate. It'll help you get those weekend missions done. And that takes us to number 4. Now, no, this is not a typo. I want to preface this Destroy deck by saying that it is running phenomenal stats at the 60% win rate and a 0.45 cube rate. But this propped up over the weekend here at a 200 gameplay rate. And the reason why I bring this up is because it actually makes perfect sense as to why this deck is performing as well as it is. Because some of the absolute top shells you're seeing are running Strange Supreme. We haven't talked about him yet, but Shang-Chi feasts on Strange Supreme. There's a reason why even like the Sarah Control Loki deck we're talking about, anything featuring Shang-Chi is feasting because of the prevalence of Strange Supreme, who has been a very strong archetype. And so that will feed something like a Null. But not only that, this deck naturally wipes out Thanos shells because of Killmonger. You wipe out all those stones, and Killmonger not only just takes a ton of value and adds it to null, but it also makes the death free, and you're wiping out your Deadpool at the same time. It's just a win condition against Thanos, who's incredibly popular. And of course, you're like, Alex, you haven't talked about Thanos yet. That's because he's too damn high on this list. So this deck is actually a pretty good meta call. If you want to play some classic destroy, like now might be a perfect time, considering what the meta consists of. And this particular version is adding Shang-Chi into the destroy shell, which traditionally has not been part of it, even though obviously it feeds null effectively. But Shang-Chi is often cut for more greedier things. But in this case, you have Shang-Chi in there for the straight up tech play. And so overall, destroy is climbing, and it's legit if you want to climb in the meta right now. Now we enter our top 3, and it starts with Toxic Ajax, which should be no surprise to anyone who watches these videos. It was the top shell last week. It has now been surpassed by 2 other decks, but at a 60% win rate, 0.47 cube rate, this shell's phenomenal. It kind of surprises me that you're able to get away with like the Sam Wilson and Miles Morales style play. Like, yes, you got some movement in here, but it's kind of interesting to think that like, well, okay, you're leaning in on that as opposed to like the Diamondback version, which it's kind of crazy. Like, it surprises me Diamondback doesn't make these shells, but you can't lie with the stats. This has been a tremendous deck over the last several weeks, and it's kind of funny to think that High Evolutionary's inclusion is simply for the Abomination, essentially. Like that's enough, right? But yeah, you got the Rocket and Groot in there, which is still phenomenal, which is another activator for Miles Morales. You got the Sam Wilson, just a traditional good card, even though it's been nerfed a couple times. And it's nice to see Scorpion back in shells, which is pretty good considering the amount of Thanos-based shells, which tend to keep their hands propped up very effectively. Hazmat in the shell overall does very well because there are so many cards being played right now in these Thanos-based shells, which we've still not yet talked about. We will be right after this. But anyways, so yeah, Toxic Ajax continues to do very well. Something I should mention before discussing the top 2 decks of the week is that we do have a new Twitch drops coming on Tuesday. I can't wait to see you there because the drops are actually insane. We're going to be getting not only a Penny Arcade border, an exclusive brand new border, but we're going to be getting a Penny Arcade card back as well as one of the Twitch drops, and it's my understanding it's this Captain America shield one, which is phenomenal. It's one of the most sought after card backs in Marvel Snap, and you'll be able to unlock it for free as part of your Twitch drops, just kind of by being part of the community. And it's also worth noting that they actually did release a brand new Penny Arcade card back as well for those that are going to PAX East, PAX Seattle, or PAX Prime, and of course PAX Unplugged. We'll be able to unlock this brand new graffiti Penny Arcade one too. So it's absolutely phenomenal. And I will be at PAX East, by the way. So if you see me, be sure to say hi. I would love to thank you for supporting my content. I'll be there Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So yeah, so honestly, phenomenal rewards. But not just that. And again, it's this particular card back you'll be getting with the drops from my understanding. Not only that, but you're getting this brand new PAX border, which is insane. It's this beautiful graffiti border that changes colors that I added to my Penny Arcade Ghost Spider variant here. So this will be part of the drops as well on Tuesday. So if you're interested in getting these drops, use the link in the description and in the pinned comment down below where you can follow along on my Twitch so that you can get them. I'll be live on Twitch. My brother might be doing the opening session, like the first couple hours, so I'll be at work, and then I'll be going pretty much all night, right? So anyways, it'll be a lot of fun. You'll get some free rewards. You'll support my content as well, and I just can't wait to see you guys there. If you're not someone that often frequents Twitch, please follow and say hi. Say, hey, Alex, here from YouTube for the first time, whatever. I'd love to see it because it's a very fun way to interact with the community. I really love Twitch drops, especially because there's a lot of people on YouTube that don't often go on Twitch, and you know they find themselves going on to Twitch drops to get the rewards, but also saying hi for the first time. So I'd love to see you there if you're interested in getting these phenomenal rewards. Now let's talk about the top decks of the week here as we're back to the 30-day ones. We're gonna have to switch over here. Wrong one. Boom. Look at that, editing on the fly. What can I say? The top 2 decks, they're Thanos. So we're going to be discussing them kind of in tandem with one another. So basically, Supreme Thanos is running a 61% win rate, 0.36 cube rate. It's phenomenal. It's doing so good. And Strange Supreme is just getting to monstrous power levels to the point where like he's such a Shang-Chi magnet that you have to run Cosmo. Like you have no choice. And then what's happening is these decks, there's been quite a few of different iterations of it. And the more tech they're adding, the better they're able to compete in not only mirror matches, because you have like a Red Guardian to punch out their Strange Supreme, for instance, but you need Cosmo to protect yours from Shang-Chi. You have Enchantress for the ongoing you're seeing for weekend missions and stuff. it's just a very well-rounded deck. It's performing well. What can I say? 61% win rate, 0.36 cube rate. What's crazy, though, is that's not even the absolute top shell. What's emerged as the top shell is, once again, a Thanos-based deck, but it's a Thanos Zoo-based shell, running a 61% win rate, 0.52 cube rate, which is absolutely phenomenal. And it just goes to show you that, like, these are cards we've more or less had. It doesn't have Strange Supreme. It doesn't have Hydra Stomper. It has Goliath in it, though. It has Sam Wilson. And now this type of shell is actually performing incredibly high. And these are cards we've had in a bit. So it's kind of funny to think that, like, you know, the top shell of this week has been one that's probably been slept on over the last several weeks, especially since Goliath was released. And here we are with a shell that's running an absolutely tremendous cube rate, a tremendous win rate, and if you're looking to get to Infinite, provides significant value. But at the same time, this is the reason why Surf with Gorgon and Destroy with Killmonger and Shang-Chi are doing so well, because they're feasting on these Thanos shells. So if you want to move off of what the meta is and counter the meta a little bit, we got a couple decks in this top 10 for you as well. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I sincerely appreciate it. Hit that like button if you haven't already. And honestly, if you're interested in those Twitch drops and want to join our community live on Twitch, be sure to follow along there, because I would love to see you, and I can't wait to say hi to you. Thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you on that next one.